Hey fight fans, Marcos Villegas here post-fight. Brook versus Porter being joined with the one and only Mr. Al Bernstein. And now another successful night of fights here on the undercard. We saw two very interesting fights, and let's go ahead and start with the one that kicked off the Showtime telecast. Estrada versus Figueroa. What'd you make of the fight?
Yeah, Omar Figueroa defending his WBC Lightweight title probably for the last time against Daniel Estrada, who was a top contender. And it was a really interesting fight. Fun fight to watch, especially in the early stages. And then Figueroa got cut because of a clash of heads, and his cornermen were actually kind of lobbying to stop the fight because they knew it would go to the scorecards and they thought he would win. Well, the referee and the doctor wasn't buying it. He got sent out for the final 10th round of the fight, and he knocked out Daniel Estrada with a big right hand, and then he got up, but then he closed the show. So Omar Figueroa, who has had many hand problems and had a problem against Jerry Belmonte in the last fight, tonight shows his hands are healthy and shows that he's a fighter to be reckoned with. But now he says he's going to move to 140 pounds.
You know, when I hear that, it kind of bums me out in a way.
I agree.
Because Linares is there looming, waiting, and he's waited for a long time.
Yes. Jorge Linares, #1 contender, was mandated to fight the winner of this fight. Now, of course, Jorge Linares will get a shot at the vacant title against someone else, but wouldn't we have loved to have seen Jorge Linares against Figueroa? Some suggest that Figueroa is moving up weight because Jorge Linares is the next opponent. I think that would be a terrific match because Linares, as you know and as many boxing fans know, is a beautiful technician, a great offensive fighter, but sometimes gets cut, has some chin issues, so he and Figueroa would be a really fascinating matchup. Either way, though, Linares will get a shot at the title.
It's like poetry in motion when you see Linares move in there because, like Al mentioned, he's just so smooth and beautiful in there. But it seems like you mentioned the kryptonite or Mexican fighters, and especially that style with Figueroa. But either way, that's like something that could be fight of the year, given Figueroa's style.
Yeah, it could, and we're going to have to probably live without it. But, that happens sometimes. But we know that Linares will get his title shot. But tonight, Figueroa was the old Figueroa. Against Belmonte, because of his hand issues, he clearly couldn't punch. They sparred less, so his hands would be a little fresher, and they were.
Now in the co-main event, we saw Anthony Dirrell claim the WBC super middleweight title in a rough and tumble fight against Sakio Bika. It was a rematch. Al, what'd you make of this fight compared to the first?
Well, the first one was very exciting, rough but exciting. This one was rough, not super exciting. Jack Reese, the referee, was very involved in the fight from the get-go, and I thought a little too much involved. I think Jack Reese is a terrific referee, but it seemed like he was laser beamed, especially on Bika early, on the idea that something was going to be untoward. And I think probably instead of controlling the fight, contributed to some of the rough stuff. But again, it's easy to criticize the referees, and this was not an easy fight to referee. So it was a rough and tumble fight. Sakio Bika looked 35 tonight. He's a 13-year veteran of the sport. Anthony Dirrell, instead of losing his focus as he did in the first fight and laying on the ropes and slugging with him, remained composed and was a boxer-puncher. He won the fight. It was not a brilliant fight to watch, but for Anthony Dirrell, a tremendous victory, coming back from cancer, coming back from a serious motorcycle accident, a very difficult life as a child, and this is an emotional moment for him to win a world title.
So if you were in the Dirrell camp and you're looking at Anthony and trying to place him amongst the super middleweights, what would be a good fight? Not one that immediately puts him out in deep water, but one that's interesting to kind of keep building up interest in him.
Well, an interesting one, Arthur Abraham has one of the 168-pound titles. Now, the problem is luring Arthur Abraham to the United States is a tough deal, and you probably don't want to go over to Germany for
the last time he was here, it was with Andre Ward, and he didn't do so well.
No, in the Super 6 tournament, Arthur Abraham had some issues, but, that would be an interesting fight. The problem is you got Andre Ward, who, of course, is injured and now involved in all his lawsuits with Danny Goosen, and there's Carl Froch. He's not going to get a Carl Froch fight, likely. So it's tricky for him. He's going to have to look maybe for a top contender. Now, a fighter like James DeGale would be an interesting match, but I think that's a tricky match for him. So I'm not sure where they send Anthony Dirrell at this juncture.
Well, two main fights in the books here at the StubHub Center, being joined with Al Bernstein, Marcos Villegas, wrapping this portion up, but stay with us. We got a lot more coming your way.